we go. This time Kongdoo Monster on the blue side will go ahead and ban out the Rakan once again. Same bans so far, as finally Spirit's laughing in the booth. Like to see that.
I just love to see Rakan banned against someone because it's so much respect to the support that it isn't a Rakan ban to interrupt the Xayah Rakan. It's just a Rakan ban because Tucson's so damn good on the pick, and they're more willing to give over the Xayah as a one-off than they are to give over the Rakan. So focusing on the draft here, Afreeca says, well, the Zac wasn't half bad. We'll ban that one away and force Raze to jump back onto the Jarvan, you would imagine. I've been a fan of his Camille. He's been one of our better Camille players. Only 1-1 on the season. And Kongdoo Monster don't want to play blue side Sion, so sadly, means the Sion's going to be off the Rift.
Yeah, honestly, after watching that game, I don't really want to see it either. It was pretty strong, to say. Not wanting to go ahead and first pick that, as you mentioned. Let's see what Afreeca wants to go ahead and ban out third here. Definitely a couple of picks they could go for. It will be the Azir, another one we were talking about for Edge. Not going to get a chance to play it once again.
And I want to see the Spirit Olaf, but it's going to be taken away here as Raze is going to be jumping on the Olaf. He'll need to pick strong lanes around him, otherwise Olaf just farming his own jungle. Lose a lot of the value as more global fans, this time from Norway. Europe is representing Supreme today. I guess EU LCS had their day with the Irish crowd, and now the LCK is getting their European crowd. I appreciate it.
LCK fighting. We're always fighting over here.
One day at a time, 5 days a week.
Day in, day out, especially for you, Papa.
Yeah.
5 days a week, never get the rest. Feels bad, man. Tomorrow you get to rest. That's good.
I do. I'm looking forward to my Monday, but first, I had some more Afreeca Freecs versus Kongdoo Monster. And they see Olaf, and they do not want to go for the Varus, it's banned away, or any other immobile AD carry. Want to go for something like an Ezreal for a bit of self-peel to jump over a wall and say, haha, can't get to me.
Ooh, quick pick on the Gnar there. Roach saying, well, I want to boost my win rate on the Gnar.
I mean, if you want strong lanes for a Olaf to fight around, why not blind pick the Gnar and the Ryze? Very hard to counterpick both of them. Both of them are power laners, so okay. So far, I'm liking what I'm seeing from Kongdoo Monster. Afreeca Freecs have so much information already on what's going on from Kongdoo Monster that they can counterpick away. And they will be going to the Taliyah, it looks like. For Kura, old favorite of his. 2-0 on the season, and does allow them to play very proactively. Always a big fan of Taliyah. Olaf has to flash over. Oh, that's frustrating.
Certainly gets in the way of a lot of things when you're playing Taliyah. Seismic Shove not really going to help out, so you can run straight at the Taliyah if she doesn't have the wall set up, but hopefully they'll pick up some more tanky frontliners to protect the Taliyah.
Gangplank being banned against Keen. We've seen a lot of Gangplank kind of miscast this week in comps that couldn't afford to go to the scaling phase, but smart in their comp in game one to have the access to the global. That'll be taken away here. I wonder if we'll see the old Keen come back. That's kind of the one thing I want to see before the playoffs, is to see Keen on lane dominance once again. He has been tank role-playing kind of the whole season, so gone are his Camille and his Fiora and his other big picks from the past. I'd love to see the Camille in this game. Definitely a consideration, though, against the Gnar. Secondary ban will be the Braum, so more respect against Tucson, drawing 2 bans, which is pretty big.
Yeah, it's interesting because the Braum in that last game not really having a chance to shine. Tucson didn't get to pick up any more MVP points, have to give some over to Spirit, as Kuro and Tucson definitely hogging them as a duo.
This would be a
looked
carry.
like here.
This would definitely be a carry, a bit of a self-counter pick, but with enough ganks. Vladimir can hit an item timing where he can tussle with the Gnar.
Oh, okay.
This is the more sensible choice. They're going to go for the Camille. Matchup that can swing. We saw Cuvée dominating in Smeb in this exact matchup from the Gnar's side. Traditionally, at the start of the season, it was very Camille-focused, and just like we've had a couple of times over, some of our matchups are kind of getting back towards 50% or swinging the other way. Recently, the Gnars have had a little bit more value. See how Camille does, and not often do you see a Camille and say, yes, it's Kog'Maw time. But Soul's Kog'Maw has been one of the few ways Kongdoo Monster through the years have actually been able to pick up match victories. So they will be drafting the Kog'Maw here. Buffed on patch 8.4. Great performance by Prey on the first day of patch 8.4. Jumping onto the Kog'Maw and the Tahm Kench as well. So it's not a protect the Kog'Maw comp, but they're hoping there'll be enough general disarray in the backline with the Olaf running around for 2-3 item Kog'Maw to do the damage.
Tucson smiling. Maybe he's got something secret to bring in here to go up against Secret's TK, but just down to 5 seconds. And the Blitzcrank comes in. What was I saying? Gonna end it here in the laning phase, perhaps. Grab Soul out a couple of times and go for that victory in the lane.
Oh, baby, Tucson, you had the right read there, Valdez. He wants that MVP points. He wants to catch up to Kuro.
Oh, yeah.
They could be at the victory here. Our last Blitzcrank was from Ignar, and he was so close to engineering a 2-0 victory. On that day, he was being watched by Madlife. Madlife not here today, but hopefully the spirit of Madlife is there with Tucson. Hook City gonna come in the bot lane.
It's very nice. Only one hooker down there for this time around. No Thresh in this game. And you were talking about MVP points. Kuro on the Talia, currently in first place with 800, as we mentioned before. Not the easiest champion to pick up those MVP points. So if I had to call it, if Afreeca's going to win, it's probably going to be either Tucson or maybe Keen on the Camille. We'll see what he can do up against Roach. Definitely favored towards Keen as a player, I'd say.
And while there's not a lot of synergy with Ezreal and Blitzcrank in lane, the Blitzcrank pick usually means we're going to play bot side, get relative lack of vision, clear all the vision that Kongdoo Monster has around the Kog'Maw lane, and then basically, if you can control the forward brush and the defensive brush, Blitzcrank goes missing. Is he going for a hook on bot lane? Is he roaming mid lane? Not to know. If you can control bot side against a Kog'Maw comp, you can go and get pick after pick, and that is going to be the dream for Afreeca Freecs to try to execute.
Well, we were talking about this actually before the game started. Would Spirit pick up anything weird going into this matchup? The answer is no. He plays 2 games of Sejuani, but Tucson, he wants to have his hand at something new. So let's jump into game number 2 and see how it's all going to pan out. Afreeca versus Kongdoo Monster. Match 69, game number 2 here. As we hop back onto the Rift, this time Kongdoo Monster will have their hand at the blue side, but they've got a big robot in the way of their victory.
There's a lot of interesting people on the Rift. We've got a bro on the side of Kongdoo Monster. You call him a robot. That's the Tom Kench, looking to do his best disengage. If he gets hooked, though, that can be 2 for the price of 1 if he's already used Devour. And if he hasn't used Devour, he just killed the Tom Kench. And oh no, look, the cops are here as a Riot Blitzcrank is going to be used. So he's going to be there just to make sure everything's in order on the side of Afreeca Freecs.
Yeah. We got old Sword Legs up in the top side for Keen as well. You wanted a carry on the top side for that player. We'll see if he can actually outplay Roach, who did go for Summoner Airy, trying to just, you know, fight in the lane up against that Arcane Comet of the Camille. We're going to have the Olaf start at the blue, as we do see very often nowadays.
And Peanut's been varying up his paths quite a lot. We saw him start red side with a leash. Blue side, like you say, is usually the way you go because you're not worried about losing health, as Keen is able to take a very nice level 1 trade. Back end of the trade, going to be frustrating, but start of the trade was good. Not that easy for a Blitzcrank lane to get lane control at level 1. Usually the Ezreal wants to enter lane and just queue the minion wave off cooldown to get 5 stacks into the Rising Spell Force and have the attack speed to push it in, but for now going to be a bit more respectful bot side, and not often that Kog'Maw gets lane control, so happy times for the Pug.
Yeah, I'm happy with the skin that he chose. I saw...
Oh, right, you are.
Yeah, I am.
You are on Team Kog'Maw.
I am like the one caster here in Korea that does like the skin. I'm not sure if it was fake or real, but I saw something on Twitter about Kog'Maw chromas and about how there's lots of different types of dogs that are coming in that you can choose. Very happy with that. I think I may have to pick up some Kog'Maw because I love the skin so much.
You know you're not employed by Riot. You don't need to go full sellout here, Valdez.
No, it's just me.
Does that make it better or worse?
It's better for sure.
When it comes to Kog'Maw, I'm less convinced of that.
I mean, I do like his other skins, but certainly this one takes the cake. Oh, he missed that ward. That's unfortunate.
And we have confirmed that there is no Korean voiceover for the Brolaf skin. He does run around saying chug chug and bro. Yeah, it's. I would have been sad if they made it something else. It would be very,
actually extremely hard to translate.
I mean, you are the closest person I have
to transliterate that into Korean and make that work.
Okay, here's your homework. Find a way to find an approximation of the idea of Brolaf for the Korean language, and then retranslate that to English to explain it to the English fans.
All right, I'll get on that.
Ruminate on that one.
I've got a day in between now and Tuesday, the next Spo TV cast. We'll see if I can get that down. Speaking of aggression, with the robot in the bot lane, he misses his hook. And Spirit says, wow, someone report Blitzcrank. I'm going back home.
Blitzcrank on patch 8.4 got easier to lane because he gets to go for the lovely Resolve Tree duo of Bone Plating and Second Wind. Literally every bot laner takes this if they're taking secondary Resolve. We're not quite seeing it on AD carries or mid laners yet, but I'm not ruling it out.
Yeah.
Especially on 8.5 when the mana flow ban changes come in and maybe sorcery will be deprioritized a little bit.
Certainly some work to be done on that Resolve Tree. If everybody that goes into it, or nearly everybody, that is taking the same 3 or 4 runes, you got to mix something up.
I mean, Bone Plating is just insanely strong, so
yeah.
That will definitely get toned down at some point. Taken by both top laners here. Speaking of runes this game, Predator is the standard on the Olaf. You already mentioned Summoner Airy on the Gnar. Olaf. Speaking of Olaf, he's here for a lane gank. Optimistic on to Keen with his summoners up.
You ever read the book series of Unfortunate Events?
No, but I'm familiar with it.
Well, I'll hold my thought. We got a trade up here, trying to bait in Raze, or rather Keen. The flash immediately comes out with the follow-up, and the smite killing first blood. Good moves there from the top jungle duo of Kongdoo.
And for some of our first-time Olafs, we've seen them shorting the axes. This time the axes register very cleanly. Nicely done from the duo here, getting Roach ahead as Raze. When he picks up first blood, things tend to go better for the side of Kongdoo Monster.
Yeah, and he even gives the kill over to the Gnar up on the top side, so kind of a matchup that can be on a knife's blade at times. Going to help him out in the top lane.
So far, Spo TV Olaf has gone legendary at 16 minutes, so with a sample size of 1, there's a lot to be excited about.
Yeah, also a sample size of 1 player, Peanut, who's going to be playing later today. If you guys are excited, so am I.
Probably not going to get the Olaf, though.
No, probably not that, but maybe something else. Well, if he doesn't get that, definitely something else. It's just the way it works out.
Could not be starting. We're not 100% sure if it will be Cuz or Peanut, but, you know, Peanut looked like a god last time, so it'd be surprising if he wasn't playing. Seeing Edge take some nice trades on the Rise. His Rise has been pretty clean. He hasn't picked up any wins on it, but again, that's not always the indicator. And to me, Edge has been by far their best performing player in terms of consistency in 2018 spring. You could argue Raze had the higher highs, got more MVPs, but Edge has had some really good performances. Unfortunately, you would say that Kongdoo Monster was relatively more nerfed when Zoe was taken out of the picture because Edge was super good at the Zoe, and that no longer being there means pretty sad times for his champion pool.
Yeah. The champion I'd pick out on the side of Kongdoo was the Alistar for Secret.
Sure.
So far as Tahm Kench is 1-10, I mean, that's just because they're losing so much, right? But the Alistar overall, with how many games they've lost, still sitting at 4-2. It gets banned pretty often in the second phase, based on what I can see in both games, actually. Banned out by Kongdoo Monster in Game 1, Afreeca in Game 2. It seems like they just don't want to pick it early enough for him to continue to get that Alistar pick, and I'd love to pick their brain about exactly why.
And specifically, supports have been last picked a lot this week. I think a lot of that is for counter-picking with the Kog'Maw in this particular game. Definitely depends on your laner, and the AD carry pools have been so narrow with so many AD carry bans that, like you say, Alistar's been deprioritized for most teams. I think it's a lot of variables at once rather than anything specific about the Alistar.
Yeah.
I did want to run something by you since you are our resident Taliyah expert.
Sure.
We definitely have been going heavy on the Archangels, and I've mentioned a couple of times about how mid laners have a lot less health, so having an overshield is something very craved. You are a big Taliyah player. I noticed when I was looking at your solo queue history, it was obviously a lot of Ludens at the start of the season when everyone was messing around. Have you changed your approach to the Taliyah?
Oh, certainly. I mean, when you see all these pro players moving into that, you definitely have to think about the reasons why, but we do have the Smite steal there coming in from Raze. Does effectively pick off the red, and a nice long jump off of that blasting plant gets himself away. But yeah, the Archangels is it's quite nice. You know, you can build up that mana early on with the tier. You generally can build straight into it because you can get that Lost Chapter next. And
Predator just runs out for Raze.
Yeah, still thinking about a dive here.
Or zoning.
He doesn't want to get too deep in there because we do have Spirit and Kuro.
Man, we're zoomed out.
We are.
I'm getting vertigo over here. Can we please zoom back in?
The wall's going to come in.
Nice interruption.
It's going to fall short of trapping Roach, but do have the Hextech ultimatum for that. 3 members trying to jump onto the Snar. It's not going to work out. A bit sloppy in the gank up top. Now Kuro in a bit of trouble, forced to flash away after seeing Olaf ult in his face, saying, okay, I want none of that action.
I believe Olaf, Raze actually threw an axe to interrupt the wall ride from the Talia. Man, they didn't have enough damage to chase, so nothing could happen for the Gnar. Keeps his summoners up. Return to all of it. They're trying to give Keen a bit of a leash because he's been held down so well after the lane gank earlier, and they're looking for more here, trying to hold down Keen even further.
Keen's in a lot of trouble. The Flash Rune Prison coming on in. That lasts for so long. He doesn't have a hook shot available, and that's going to be the kill given. Over to Edge on the rise. Have a couple of kills now on their solo laners. Kongdoo Monster looking a lot better this time around.
They're playing with lane pressure really well. It's good to see them executing the Olaf much better than they were executing the mid lane Sion earlier this week. They clearly outpracticed the Olaf from a band against most of our aggressive junglers. You forget that Raze was great on the Camille. His level 2 ganking Jarvan was his best early pick, and the Olaf fits the same bill. Nicely done, and like you mentioned, if you can actually queue up the E into W, flashes down on Keen, nothing you can do, and the root's gonna mean the kill's gonna be picked up.
You notice how Raze, he gets the vision in the brush, but he doesn't actually swing the axe. He says, I'm not gonna be the carry this time around. I'm gonna give my solo laners the kills. And certainly getting your Rise to scale up faster than the Talia, who's also trying to scale on her own Archangels, is quite nice early on in the game.
Hard to say if Peanut would see it the same way, but specifically with the champions you're mentioning, I can agree. No Trinity Force going to be coming out of this Olaf, sadly. But with bot lane not able to actually get any pressure, with Spirit forced to play topside, the game plan of deny vision and then go for Hook City hasn't happened. We're waiting to see a hook hit. That one would have hit, but very nice. Devour comes through from Secret. We need to actually see doubling down around the Blitzcrank rather than trying to put out a fire on the top side. Otherwise, it feels like Kongdoo are setting the pace of the game. And that'd be the first time they've done that in closing in on 20 competitive games they've played.
Yeah, and you mentioned Keen hopping onto that carry champion. Starting off 0-2 is certainly not what they wanted from that top side. They have to focus somewhere else. They have a lot of scaling with that Talia and the Ezreal building up their tier right now. And having eventually that split laner of the Camille, but she is so far behind. At least Afreeca is going to pick up this consolation. Ocean Drake pretty early on in the game, 11.5 minutes here. It's going to be good for keeping them in the lane.
And for double tier as well, 2 Oceans, a very nice stuff. They can take it off spawn. Going for the hook, nicely flashed away by Secret. So playing around the plush of the Blitzcrank better. That was a little bit too easy, as there was no expectation of Sejuani coming down to the bot lane. But Raze on the invade again.
And he's waiting.
They don't know he's here.
There was one ward and a couple of pings going down, and the hook coming onto Soul, as well as that ultimate coming out of Sejuani, but the easy Devour says, well, that's not going to work. Ultimate blown here from Raze. He wants to get out of dodge, but that consistent damage from the Talia, she's going to continue on here with her wall. Unfortunately, goes on the wrong side of the wall and does not have enough damage to eventually pick off Raze.
Didn't want to give up the blue buff there and was able to escape overall. No ability to kill from Afreeca, so still it ends up being an invade. Still is net positive for the side of Kongdoo Monster. Continue to push in, Rageblade online on the Kog'Maw. Certainly things have gone better than expected for Kongdoo. It's good to see. Never want to have a team that just can't find competitive games, and they certainly would have circled Afreeca Freecs at the time for them to turn it around, but with only 4 matches after today, has to be as early as possible if they are to find a very unlikely exit out of the relegation matches. In case you guys are wondering, if you're familiar with other scenes, but newer to Korea, while the spring-summer promotion relegation is being removed in every other region except China, we do have it here in Korea as well. So there will be 2 relegation tournaments played. One in Korea will be played after the LCK final, so second half of April, as far as I remember, is when we'll see that.
That's when Kongdoo Monster made it back, and I believe it was BBQ that also made it through the relegations. Not 100% sure.
Yes, and Everett Winners was relegated.
Yeah. I was thinking maybe it was MVP, but they just squeaked by in summer.
They made the great escape. They were right down the bottom, and then when the meta changed and you could play Cho'Gath top lane, ADD said thank you very much, and they were able to escape. They went on the great escape this season already, and now there's still an outside chance of playoffs, which is just the most amazing thing for the MVP fans.
Yeah. But then again, they go ahead and play Ziggs, and it doesn't really work out for them.
It's been a while since there's been true hype around the promotion matches. I watched you and Crumbs cast them last year. Griffin is the real hype. But speaking of hype, everyone's bot lane.
Yeah, we got 4 members down here. They're trying to gang up on the robot here, but he's got a stopwatch. Doubtful it'll help him out. One last hook is going to do it, and they actually trade one back. Soul getting low too. Kramer looking to follow this one up. The rise kind of scary, but here comes that wall. Right? No, it's on cooldown. It's so close to coming off. Kuro on the chase now. They don't want to let them go.
They can push up with the minion wave. The Weaver's Wall will keep them under the turret.
Yeah, it's about to get off cooldown here, but now we have TP coming in.
Cancelled.
Cancelled! And that baits them in, unfortunately. Raze goes down now. Spirit especially tanky. Trying to get onto Soul here. There's the flash. One more kill. It looks like Edge may be an eventuality here if they want to go for the risky kill. Looks like they might just back off and let Edge live at the end of it all.
Oh, what a tilt to the top laner's teleport was actually miscommunicated with the rest of the team and ended up baiting them to move the wrong way. And the extra kills go the way of Afreeca Freecs. Such a heartbreaker for how well they played the early game. We watched the replay and the coordination here is great. You only have a half a second when a Tahm Kench moves out of lane to judge whether they're going for warding or the Abyssal Voyage. Ended up being the latter. Very well executed. They go in, they take down Tucson. It looks like it's going to be a 1-for-1. And then you think, wait, it's Talia. What about the Weaver's Wall? It's on cooldown, which stops it from being the punishment. So again, the timing for Kongdoo Monster should be complemented. The deep lane ward. Notice, they're largely out here. There isn't going to be 2 deaths onto Kongdoo Monster. They should be out. But the teleport starts to be channeled right now. They move forward and start chasing. Teleport is cancelled, and Afreeca say, wait, let's go for this. They get all the kills. They clean it up. Big misfire from the side of Kongdoo.
Yeah. Raze, I feel like also getting a bit frisky. Definitely was some miscommunication, but moving forward when you're that low up against Talia Ezreal, you got to be careful about that poke, and he bit the bullet in the end, so yeah, I mean, that's just one of those little things we were talking about earlier. Kongdoo Monster still working on it.
And that's kind of the worry is you need to use words like still when it's week 7. It's the last match day of week 7. Like, if you can't work out your communication strategies in a full Korean roster, a single language roster by end of week 7, you got big problems. So unfortunately for them, not good enough at the highest level to have that level of a communication mistake.
Yeah.
It undoes a lot of their good work. It's only a 500 gold lead now, and the top lane is only the bastion of hope, as we do have a 50 CS lead over Keen for Roach.
Yeah, it's one of the benefits they have, but they're also staring down the barrel of a 2-0-1 Ezreal, who finishes 2 items at 17 minutes. Yep. Trinity Force as well, being one of those. Not going to be happy times up against Kramer, who's looking to solidify his spot in the roster once again.
Now, the 2-0-1 Ezreal hasn't turned into control on the bot side. We mentioned that's what Afreeca Freecs wanted with the Blitzcrank. We're seeing Blitzcrank go for desperate hooks rather than people walking into him, so that has meant that they have been unable to get any value out of the robot. And they will continue to play bot side, as you can see.
Always threatening there onto Soul, but so far, Tushin, I'm not sure. I think he got maybe 1 hook so far. The Blitzcrank not really working out.
He's had a hook flash and a couple of Devour ones, but
yeah.
In the laning phase, there really should be no hooks hitting. Again, it's about, let's get control wards down, and then the enemy's like, where is he? And that's when the hook comes through. That hasn't been a game plan they've been able to enact, and that's why so far things have stalled out bottom side. Still, we continue to move forward. Again, we have to remember that all our compliments around Kongdoo Monster are tempered, and they also are largely only relevant when the Gnar is on the screen or where the Gnar is, because elsewhere, they are down in effective gold with how big the Ezreal is.
Yeah, we took a look at the gold earlier on, just a minute ago, and it was about 1.5 thousand ahead for Ezreal over the Kog'Maw. Having a fun time so far, no doubt. And finally, they do get their second Trinity Force just pulled along there by Keen eventually at 18 minutes. But at least he does pick it up. Also does get that Tiamat, so perhaps it did come in a little bit earlier, but eventually picking up those items to go up against the Gnar, who is already got that Black Cleaver.
I'm mostly watching the minimap now, waiting for there to be a transition in the ward control for Afreeca, because right now they haven't placed most of their control wards, and this is the area of the map where the control wards need to be put down. Bottom side to profit off the implied power of a rocket grab. Time to clear vision. This is where they want to transfer their power. They have no power top side. That's where the Gnar is. But grouping with your team when you have pick CC like Camille, one way to let the vision start, and then when that vision lingers, then maybe we'll finally see the value of the Blitzcrank.
Yeah, still waiting for that. By the way, our Blitzcrank did take Minion Dematerializer, has all 6 stacks still left available, just in case Kongdoo Monster want to get frisky later on in the game with some Banner of Commands.
It's actually a pretty big cost, though, because usually Blitzcrank is one of the most liberal users of Minion Dematerializer, given that he has very low lane presence, unless his lane is ahead. So it's the backup insurance, you would say, for the late game, rather than a strategy to help out the early game.
Oh, we got Noloff on the way here, trying to jump on a Kuro. This is what I was talking about with the Taliyah, but again, not able to dive the turret just yet, so they let her get away.
Get a flash, but no more. Still, nice little trade for Raze. Ult on a short cooldown, but his ult's down.
Yeah, look at that damage coming out of Kramer now.
Oh!
The rocket grab goes barely wide, but it's going to be picked up eventually from the Kuro. But the damage being traded back. Soul getting a little bit scary now. Roach looking for that Mega Gnar. They're going to be able to pick up Kuro on the back end here. Kramer still getting to work on those Kongdoo Monster members, but eventually is going to let them go.
And the front line's not tanky enough for Kramer to do damage, so despite having all the gold, he ends up having to disengage. Only lead Afreeca get is the fact that we can have the pushing in top side, but Gnar goes missing, and so does Keen when it comes to map impact. Nice little passage of play for Kongdoo. Wasn't a lead, but they go fairly even in it. Second Ocean Drake is what we mentioned Afreeca would love for the laning phase. Here's the replay. Starts off with Raze getting the flash. That's very simple. Good start. Afreeca know that the ult is down despite the short cooldown. They turn onto him, and that's where things got spicy. As we can see in the picture-in-picture, the Ocean Drake is taken.
Second Ocean Drake for Afreeca. So it took a lot to eventually get that kill onto Raze, and that's where they go a little bit too far in. Spirit gets low, as does Kuro. They only pick up 1 kill on the backside, 1 for 1, but again, lots expended to pick up that kill.
Yeah, 3 flashes to 2 for 1 for 1, but the back end is getting the Ocean Drake, which is the extra benefit we should talk about. With 2 tier stackers. Now, of course, the tiers are fully stacked, but regardless, with large mana pools, you do like the regen it provides. Still, Kongdoo Monster ahead in gold at 20 minutes against Afreeca Freecs. The betting markets were on something so specific, you'd be getting a good return on that one. So credit to them. They have been much improved today. What we've seen recently, sliding scales, of course, is we're going aggressive.
Yeah, that's what they like to do here, and a couple of members going to be caught out. Spirit, though, has the ability to go over the wall. Looks like it's on cooldown, though, so does get caught in the Dragon Pit. Nice pickup onto the jungler here. We do have the Baron spawned. We'll see where Kongdoo wants to go from here. And
Raze was smartly going for being literally on top of the board to stop there being the ability to use the Arctic Assault over the wall. Walking towards the Baron. Now this Baron will definitely be contested, and Tucson can mess up a lot of these things. They're going for the Baron at 22 minutes. That'll be a huge prize.
Tucson sees it all the way along. Are they going to contest here?
Oh,
the wall comes in. 5 members in the pit, and the Tom Kent's in the front. The double dive shove. That's not going to be stolen, though. And eventually, Tucson is the one that gets low. They have the counter engage onto Raze here, but that's only 1 for 1. Kramer trying to pick off someone else, but they cannot Kongdoo with a relatively clean Baron.
Yeah, they make the right call with the enemy jungler down at 22 minutes. Again, Kongdoo continues to defy expectation and make the right calls that have gone begging in previous series, in previous iterations of Kongdoo Monster. And remember, the roster has stayed very similar. The takeaway for Kongdoo was their macro from ahead was good. They just did not get ahead because their lanes were very weak, both in terms of talent and just the ability to play out the lanes against some of our better teams. So far here, they've been able to actually get that good early game going, and then in a vacuum, they've made the right call. Now, roaming over with Roach as well, tend to continue to wail away onto the Camille. They haven't been in this spot. It's unfamiliar territory for Kongdoo, but the execution cannot be denied.
I mean, it looks like Raze has taken the spot of Spirit, the one that's setting up all the ganks, even if this time he's trading his life for it. So definitely a nice thing to be mentioned that Kongdoo's looking good.
Awkwardly, the only Bannon for now is going to be on the Tom Kench, and even with the Baron Gold not quite complete, working on Raptor Cloak into the completion. So that means the first patch won't be as deadly as the push that we saw from Afreeca. Let's see what they get. So far, it is just the gold coming through. They need to find some more turrets to really make it the Baron buff power play we've been seeing on average this week. We don't track them as closely as the LCS reads, but I imagine Baron buff power plays have never been higher in terms of gold acquired.
You can see what's happening in that 1v1, right? I mean, Keen is just having way too much trouble up against the Gnar, and we've seen Gnars get out of hand. Once you get that Baron, and he's going up against a top laner that's behind, he's sitting on a frozen mallet now, and he's just not letting Camille get anywhere near the turret. That's going to be nearly a free one going down the inner turret in the bottom lane for Kongdoo.
It's not even controlled aggression because he doesn't have his jungler around him. The enemy jungler was there and was saying, sorry, I mean, what can I do? Nothing they can do there, so second turret falls. They would love to get the mid lane out of turret, so they have more and more space for the inevitable Baron push. Not going to be given up without at least a little bit of a contest here.
Afreeca, they were thinking about fighting or perhaps just trying to clear the wave, pushing forward with the Sejuani. Eventually, they do lose this one. You can see that Kramer, he's still really fed on the Ezreal, and he's also got double buff. So do not forget about the Ezreal in the back of your mind. He has built for this earlier game, and still sitting at 2-0-3 on that pick.
But maybe forget about the Blitzcrank, because Tucson has not had the most success, and you would have to say for a last pick support, which is usually Tucson's wheelhouse, they haven't played around the Blitzcrank at all. They've never been able to get the vision control we expected against the Kog'Maw. We've seen this before where Longzhu at the time would pick Kog'Maw, when Kog'Maw was picked, would take the Blitzcrank and just basically play bot side the entire time and make the Kog'Maw free food. That hasn't happened in this game, so the Blitzcrank has been effectively useless. Even the flash hook went wide. Now, one hook can win the game, but the game plan around the Blitzcrank has left a lot to be desired.
Yeah, it's certainly non-standard for reasons like this. The Blitzcrank has a lot of trouble, and it just looks like, why would you ever pick this pick? It's almost like Tushin having a little bit of fun. His teammates were like, yeah, okay, go ahead. You know, we'll see what you can do. But as you mentioned, not really playing as a team around it, and unfortunately not really getting a chance to do it by himself. But he's got his teammates, specifically Kuro and Kramer. Now Kuro, one of the biggest MVPs we have so far, really impressing, and so far as Talia has been looking quite good as the resident Talia judge here on the desk. Definitely like this build, especially with the Leandri second. You're just always in combat as Talia. You're always poking, so you've always got that 10% extra damage, and it certainly helps out. So here we go. Speaking of damage and fighting, Raze almost gets chunked down there.
Kramer trying to be up the front, trying to poke around. He used his gold lead to have it mean something. These are 3 items. You don't get much stronger as Ezreal. After the Blade of the Ruined King is complete, probably going to be something like a Mortal Reminder as the next item. Thought there was an outside chance as well. He needs to do damage, though, because the rest of his team is behind. Now, what is the plan to get to Sol? Because put down control wards and hook him and stop him from getting items. That didn't happen this game. Kog'Maw has been able to happily farm. So when you see a Kog'Maw, you think, okay, backline access. They don't really have any, unless the Camille is able to get the Hextech ultimatum, and Camille falling behind has made that a one-way trip. So let's wait and see if they can ever find a way to shut down Sol. Otherwise, with Hurricane as a second item, he's definitely ready to roll.
Tushin has been millimeters away hook after hook. It's kind of sad to watch, right? If he had hooked someone in there, certainly could have gotten a nice chunk and maybe made a play towards that Mountain Drake, but now the hook is down and Kongdoo Monster moving into an area where they don't have too much vision. They're still gonna go for it, no steal, and the Mountain Drake will go over to Kongdoo.
First Drake of the game stops the stacking from being Elder Dragon win condition as severely as it was looking before. Oblivion Orb again. Sorry, I shouldn't say that. The Spellbinder is picked up by Rise. Second time we've seen Spellbinder this week. See if we actually see it popped. I didn't really get a true indication of the item, and I know most mid laners I talked to are pretty wishy-washy on how good Spellbinder is. I know you were not a fan.
I mean, when you're on the Rise, it kind of makes sense, because what Rise wants to do is he wants to get on top of you, he wants to spam his abilities, and he wants to stay in range, right? So that extra movement speed plus the extra AP that you will have stacking up very fast with all of the abilities that are being spammed from not only the Rise, but also
Ezreal.
the Taliyah, the Ezreal, and even the members on his team. So it's good for stacking up. The only thing that I really dislike about it is it's only 4 seconds, right? It's 4 seconds to make something happen. It can be up to 100 AP, which is a really nice chunk, but it sometimes it feels unnoticeable at times because it lasts for not too long.
It's one of those things where if you think about items to compare it to, and obviously there haven't been too many items like this, kind of in one way is indirectly like a Deathfire Grasp was back in the day, where it's about a window of power rather than anything more. But it's so situational to set up, and then it does depend on how well you scale on AP rather than just a damage amp like old Deathfire Grasp was, that it's even more situational, you would say. But it's a fun idea. I just don't know if this actually becomes a reliable pick outside of abuse cases, which Rise, given his spell weaving, can be considered an abuse case for stacking up very quickly a Spellbinder.
Yeah. I mean, we say that from time to time. Not every item is meant for every champion, and certainly if there's going to be one champion that's in the meta now that could use the item, it's going to be Rise and the Spellbinder. So we'll just have to wait and see to what effect it is. Maybe pay attention to when he uses it and see exactly how much damage he can throw out. Certainly a fun one, but here we go. Edge is finally, he lands a hook here, and that might just be it as Edge. Well, he's got a lot of shield somehow, some way. Has enough to make it through that arcane, two-shot barrage rather, and he's gonna stay alive, but here comes Taliyah with the wall trying to take him in. The Realm Orb is gonna help Secret get away, but they get him low enough. Thinking about the Baron, will they go for it? Looks like not yet.
Nice hook comes through, and Nara's not grouped. He was split pushing. He walks over after teleport was cancelled. First good moment for Afreeca. Tucson has his flash, so the first couple have gone wide. The flash hook is something to be respected. Very tense part of the game where Kongdoo is certainly ahead. But with the Blitzcrank, miracles can happen.
Yeah, and it's Blitzcrank into a multitude of CC. If you can lock him down, the Seismic Shove, I mean, you got Sejuani, which goes without saying. So they just gotta lock someone down. See what they can do. Roach, though, moving forward, trying to challenge Spirit and Kramer in the face, looking for that ultimate. Ray's gonna be saved from the Seismic Shove for now as the battle continues over the Baron pit.
Enough narrow corridors, so you have to respect the Flash Gnar play. So the Flash is being up. Always relevant in scenarios like this when it comes to playmaking. Always gonna be slightly more on the back foot. There is less wards than before, so everything's very tense. It's Crank, you have to say, in a meta with less warding. Should be set up for success more than the Tracker's Knife meta. Don't know if that will mean more Blitzcrank, but something to think about at the back of your mind. Two sweepers on both teams. No longer is it the 3-sweeper meta. You'll see some sort of warding trinket on the mid laner now.
Yeah, liking the blue trinket. Definitely does help out for spotting potential ganks that could come through with the Rise and the Tom Kent specifically.
It's also a blue trinket from behind is usually a lot more fruitful than a blue trinket from ahead. So given that Afreeca have given up a lot of map control, it makes sense for Kuro to go for the blue trinket and not the permanent vision that is available to the Rise, who's more of a side laner as well. But we do appreciate that the game hasn't really been moved forward by the side of Kongdoo, who have been in control for the last 5 minutes or so. It's a very good play before that, but the second Baron is spawned, and you would argue that Afreeca has more control around Baron than Kongdoo does, which is kind of counterintuitive with how the game has gone, but also implied by the fact that items starting to be there. despite there being a 4,000 gold lead, 54,000 gold worth of items to Afreeca means something in terms of being able to follow up a pick. And Kramer has gone for something we have seen happen very rarely in a long time. He's actually gone for Duskblade as a 4th item, a snowball item. He knows that he needs to be the one going for a deletion item. It gives him a bit more of a sweeper effect because he does get that little bit of extra ward clearing. But that is flat armor penetration, that lethality onto an 80 carry.
That's definitely one where you'd love to pick his brain and say, why? You know, give me all the reasons as a pro gamer.
I mean, Kramer has gone for some crazy stuff.
And speaking of crazy stuff, they're trying to go for it. The defensive Weaver's Wall comes in and shuts him down. It looks like they were going to get away anyway, but a very aggressive play by Kongdoo, looking to get something started. And it does get deflected by Afreeca.
It does get them inside track on clearing wards around the Baron. They're going to start the Baron. Okay, Camille's bot side without teleport. This is smart by Kongdoo, but do you turn or do you burn?
Well, speaking of burning, lots of members of Kongdoo Monster getting burned down. This is Talia and Ezreal poking you down, and you're in the face of them, trying to go for a full health Baron. It's not going to work out. Now they got them zoned. Even without the Talia's Wall, the Weaver's Wall coming in, they don't necessarily need it. The hook's going to come in, forcing one flash. They got that inside track onto the mid lane, looking for this inner turret, and they get it.
Nice play from Afreeca. Kongdoo in a bit of two minds. They didn't have a clear plan on how to stop Spirit from coming over the wall, and that allowed Keen to walk up. So the initial decision to start the Drake, the Baron, I should say, was smart because they knew the teleport was down. They're going straight back to Baron.
Here we go again. They thought they could beat Afreeca into getting Infernal Drake, and so far, lots of members out of here, so getting to work on
They're not doing it fast enough, though.
No Weaver's Wall once again. The poke coming in. It's getting quite low. The hop over the wall. They're trying to steal it. They do it. Spirit gets the steal and Soul disappears off of the map. Now it's 5-on-4. They're trying to disengage, but no Realm Warp. Look at this though. Rhodes trying to do something on the back line. He goes down. Now Ray's getting extremely low. Kuro looking for the pick here. Rhodes coming out of his GA, looking to go down. Edge extremely low on the left side. They finally pick him off, and Afreeca with one swing of the bat, they get the Baron and a bunch of kills.
3 for 2, but they get the Baron buff as well to Afreeca Freecs. Unfortunately for Kongdoo, they did not have a plan again to interrupt the Smite steal. Smite too early by Raze or unused. I didn't catch it. Got the replay to confirm. By the time they've DPS'd it down to 3,000, it can be forced. Right. Yeah, the first Smite.
That's at 1,600, Papa.
I mean, no Smite was used by the Olaf, so that was just a huge burst damage coming through, I guess, from the Precision Protocol, I would think. And then the Smite comes through. So the only Smite comes through from the Sejuani. They take it from there, and sadly for Kongdoo, the final part of the plan didn't come in. They allowed the Smite to be stolen away. Teams this week have been so good about not allowing for Baron steals, and Kongdoo Monster, they left the door open, and the door slammed on their fingers. Fingers in the cookie jar. The cookie jar now out of reach for Kongdoo, and Afreeca Freecs in control.
Well, look at that graph. Someone hopped off of Mount Everest with that one. It looks much bigger, as it was only 5,000 gold, but certainly a big switch in the direction towards Afreeca, and that means they get another Drake as well. The Inferno going to be picked up. Elder on the way next, so they have 3 Drakes to stack that one up as well.
We actually missed it throughout all of it. Hold on, hold the point.
Yeah, they're trying to go on in here, even the Predator being used, but look at it in the front line. Roach gets decimated right off the front. They try to get the kill. Now Keen coming in from behind, gonna have to swallow up that Edge there, but now he's being chased down. Keen not gonna let anyone get away, and this is just one-sided by Afreeca, trying to take everyone out. Only Raze is left available. They try to make something happen with the pick. It does not pay off.
And Kongdoo Monster were playing on their side as well against Baron buff, feeling like they could actually get the pick and make this work, but it meant that Soul was going to be out of position. They couldn't actually get the most out of the Kog'Maw. And now the Bannon's coming in, and now the base is going to be broken for Kongdoo Monster.
They had a lead. They wanted to do something around the Baron, but they force it. They get a little bit impatient, and Afreeca is too good of a team to allow that to happen. They pounce on you in just a couple of seconds time, and now look at where we are. Just 2-3 minutes later, the base of Kongdoo is being destroyed.
Things do swing so severely in the LCK. It seemed like we were going to be going to a Game 3. Now we are one team fight away, and long death timers on those inhibitors for the side of Kongdoo Monster. Fate can be so cruel. Seems like the cruel takeaway. Getting the word from my producer that I think Tucson actually had Smite there with the Unsealed Spellbook. That's where the first Smite came through. Could have been mistaken on that, but that's very interesting to see. But regardless, the Smite came through, and that was a Baron buff power play for sure from Afreeca.
Everybody, when Unsealed Spellbook first came out, they were like, wow, you could actually, get some Smites and see what could happen. So if they actually tried to go for some kind of weird play like that, would be pretty cool.
We missed that one. The overlay for the replays is a bit crazy when it comes to the Unsealed Spellbook. But it sounded like a Smite. Turns out it was a Smite. Interesting
Certainly looked like one, sounded like one.
It does mean that we can't criticize Raze as much, because the second Smite coming through and the layering there.
That's just next level, It would be interesting to see if that's Tucson or if it's the team, who says, okay, we're behind. We might have to steal here, pick up a Smite, as you're pretty useless otherwise, Blitzcrank.
Well done. That means that Afreeca now knocking on the front door, 2 inhibitors down, the Gnar being called over. Another split pusher who gets way ahead and can't actually impact the game when his team lets him down, which in this case, the Baron going against Kongdoo. Afreeca pushing up. It's gone 40 minutes, and Kongdoo Monster will have a lot of good news in the early game to speak of. The game victory seems impossible unless something titanic happens for them here.
Well, we do have Weaver's Wall available. Just looking for the push to make it work. Waiting for this mid lane to push on in. Not necessarily timed the best. And of course, the Baron buff is currently down. So just buying some time here. Trying to pick away at that top turret. See if they can pick anyone off at the Weaver's Wall, perhaps. Fighting for vision. There's the wall. Gonna trap 3 of them in. And this is the playground now for Tucson and Spirit if they wanted it. But they decide, let's just get the turret first. And down it does go in the top lane.
Good communication from Afreeca. 3 flashes were available. And Tom Kench could have flashed and devoured one of them. So get the objective. What was the wall for? Taking the turret. Got the objective, and they continue to push this. There's the ult.
Well, they get it onto Tom Kench, and 3 ultimates used to take him out. That's all you need.
Oh!
And Soul gets one shot by King.
That was dirty.
He's not behind anymore, Papa, saying, get out of my game. Kramer, finally, another hook comes in from Tucson, trying to get some more damage here. But that's going to be it, guys. A quick 2-0 victory. 40 minutes this time from the side of Afreeca.
Afreeca Freecs were behind for the majority of the game. That is not good news against Kongdoo Monster. They'll just say it was a one-off, but Kongdoo played better in Game 2 and 1 than we have seen recently. Better is not good enough for them to take down the Afreeca Freecs. Afreeca go in 2-0. They join KT Rolster at 10 match wins. We'll have to wait and see when we get to the table if that's enough for them to actually move above KT. But our top 3 is all but cemented to be King's Own Dragon X, KT, and Afreeca in some order. That order means skipping best of 5s, so the race is still on for the final 2 weeks. 4 best of 3s to stand up and be counted, or to make yourself that much more of an outsider to make it to the grand final.
You mentioned that Kongdoo Monster, they look better, right? There is some improvement. Obviously, they prepared very well for Afreeca in terms of pick and ban and also play, but going for the Baron, it's hard to say if it was a good idea or not when you're going up against double Smite, but certainly they did it in the face of Afreeca when they were ahead. They couldn't get any picks, and they got a little bit impatient, went for it. Whereas you look at other teams that are improving, MVP having much better Baron play, perhaps this is something for Kongdoo to go back and watch the VODs and improve on.
And it's hard to say what that will mean for the LCK, but it isn't hard to say that that might mean a lot for the promotion matches. And that's where they end up. The damage onto Soul, who was literally on over 1,000 health, he dies instantly. What's that all about?
It's Camille.
I haven't seen that much Camille damage in a while, and this Camille was behind. So, okay. No broadcast nice words to say there. We'll just say that was a lot of damage. I think Soul should feel a bit sad about that one.
Well, you're playing Kog'Maw, you're not going to have a lot of health. And the Kongdoo Monster coach, he's giving it to them. And when you're getting down to this moment, 4 best of 3s left over, it's it's hard to contain yourself at times. I can't really blame him, as they still struggle to find some sort of success. But again, Afreeca, they're looking like one of the best teams. It's hard to feel too bad about a loss like this.
I mean, Tusen's smiling, but he knows he probably doesn't get to play Blitzcrank again. The Blitzcrank one might need to be on the bench. That was lucky to pick up a match victory here. Looking at the history, we knew that Kramer would have nice numbers, but you forget that when Ezreal gets ahead and goes for a very high damage build with the patchwork build, including some lethality in there with the Dusk Blade, it adds up to 42,000 damage. Kramer's poke was the reason that it wasn't able Kongdoo Monster to pick up all of the objectives early game. They still got a lot when it came to that second Baron. Baron buff power play here, when it's later in the game, when the Banner of Command was online, much more severe for Afreeca Freecs.
You look at the 12,000 from Camille, 1/12 of that damage was done in a single instant over the course of 40 minutes this time around. So Camille, she can be scary even if she does get behind when you finally get into that back line against the squishies. You were mentioning it, that was their one way to get on top of that Cogmaw. Finally came true right at the end of the game, so.
34.5 minutes, Valdez, of good news for the side of Kongdoo Monster. And sadly for them, it doesn't lead to a game victory. Sadly for the fans, we will not have a third game, and we will have an extended break. But good news, it is Spo TV interview time. So hopefully we have some tasty memes cooked up for Suncaster and the translator to go through. We'll see who the MVP is for game 2. Kramer will be the easy option, you would say. I don't think Tusen's getting it this time.
In terms of damage, yes. Nobody else really did anything, right? I mean, Spirit did get the steal in conjunction with the Blitzcrank. You look at Kuro and you think, perhaps? I mean, he had
Weaver's
some walls.
Yep.
The walls were pretty good. He was doing Talia things, but my pick would be Kramer.
Waiting to see it. Sounds like it's ready to be shown. So they were consulting. I'm sure this would have been a close one because no one really raised their hand. And okay, seems like the leader gets even stronger. The case for Kuro to be #1 overall is looking more likely. Is now 200 points clear of second place.
Certainly pushing him ahead in terms of those MVP points. He had a 5-1-6 KDA even amongst all the damage that Afreeca was taking earlier on. Didn't really die much, so something to give to him.
Wouldn't have been my choice, but it's the sort of thing you have to think about because he's now at 900 points. It's insane to think that a lot of people won't remember that he was that joint MVP of summer with BDD because people were focused on the Longzhu story of them going so far. But a double MVP for the second time could be on the cards.
He also hits 1,234 kills, so very nice to him. I'm going to hand you guys over to Ji-sun for the translation of our interview.
So, Afreeca Freecs proved that they are the stronger team in LCK. And here we have Kuro and Spring from Afreeca Freecs for the interview. Congratulations. So picking up 2-0 victory today. How do you feel? Well, I was in a really bad condition. I wasn't feeling well, but I'm really happy that we made a 2-0 victory. Yeah, I can see that you aren't feeling really well. A lot of your fans are worried about you. How are you? Are you feeling all okay? I thought that I would be, but it got worse. So I'm going to take a rest today. So I hope you get better. How about you, Kuro? You have a lot of MVP points. How do you feel about today's match? Well, I want to give the credits for my teammates for making me able to get the MVP. But I also heard that you are not feeling well also today. Well, on the way to the next arena here, I wasn't feeling well, and I thought I might be catching cold, so yeah, I wasn't in my perfect condition. So I'm gonna be taking a rest after I get back to my house. So a tip for you guys is to have a pair that can prevent you from getting cold. So if you go to house and try it at your house. And there are a lot of fans out here for you guys. And also there's a fan from Norway majoring in esports. So how do you feel about your fans all over the world? I don't know why they came today, but if it's because of me, I will be totally honored. And I hope they get better impression about Korea. So moving on to the games. I saw a lot of great teamwork with your teammates. What can be the highlights of the first game? The first squad in the mid lane, and also when we got double kills in the top lane. Then let's check out the clips of today's game. I mean, it was a perfect teamwork, right? Kuro told me there's no visions in the upper side, so I had confidence that I'm gonna make a kill over there. And this one was like my super play. I thought it was a little bit risky because Keen kind of underperformed at that moment, but it was lucky that I did so well. And Squid also said in a previous interview the Kuro actually doesn't listen to your shot calls. Well, it's not that I don't listen to him, but it was more about our discipline in our house. Well, I sometimes deny to follow the rules in our gaming house, so I think that was what he was talking about. And moving on to the game 2. And 1, you played Mid Sion. And last time you played Mid Sion long back in the days when you were in the G Tigers. I heard that you played it because Smet wasn't good at it. Yeah, that's a true story. I think Smeb is not a good Sion player, and because he is still not picking it, even though Sion is overpowered champion in the top lane. The breaking news says Kuro said Smeb is a bad Sion player. This is Kuro's opinion. Then today, why did you pick Sion on mid lane? Because Sion is a good champion in current match. So I guess Kuro has a lot of confidence on mid Sion. And for Kuro, what was the best moments of today's series? So we'll take a look at the clips. Any comments? Well, I was free dealing in the backline, so it was easy for me to put the CCs on their opponent dealers. And the second set was an easy game for you guys. And it seemed like Kongdoo Monster was striking back after the first game. So we said, I think if Keen just get easily scaled in the top lane, I thought it would be an easy game, but he actually failed to do so. But during the games, I think we turned the tables around, and we're gonna we're gonna do better throughout the game in the end. So I think that's how we got the victory at the last moment.
괜히 누르기 싫을 때가 오잖아, 탈리아 있었을 때. 근데 그 시기를 넘은 다음부터 경기도 굉장히 잘 붙었는데 어떤 시점에서
And what about you on Talia today?
라는 생각이 드셨나요?
일단 제가 3킬쯤 먹었을 때부터 팀이 되게 잘 나와가지고
Well, at the moment that I got 3 kills, I was scaled well and I got some magical items on me. So I thought the game would become a little bit easier for me.
팀에게 충분히 도움될 만큼 굉장히 많이 있었으니까요. 오늘도 시청자 질문은 두 선수에게 굉장히 어떻게 의미 있는 그런 질문이 들어온 것 같습니다. 이 시청자 질문.
So we have a question from the fans.
프로게이머 하기 잘했다고 느낀 순간은
When do you think that you made the perfect choice to become a pro gamer?
응원이 좀 필요한 상황이 됐는데 이런 순간 분명히 있을 것 같거든요. 오늘 오신 분들의 이런 박수를 좀 들어보면은 언제가 이런 느낌 좀 들까요?
저 같은 경우는
For me,
그냥 저희가 다 같이 힘을 합쳐서 이긴다?
when we win the game as a whole team with a great teamwork. And also when I hear the chants from our fans.
알 것 같아요. 아, 다행히 스피드 선수도. 네, 크루 선수.
Bro, you want to add on to that?
비슷한데 되게 많이 느꼈던 게 두 개가 있어요.
But to pick some of the moments, the first one would be when I hear my fans cheering for us, and also when I won the series and the whole split.
순위가 계속 올라가면서 아프리카 프릭스 사실 처음에 말씀드린 것처럼 지난 연도까지는 계속 5위에 계속 멈추는 장면이
But Afreeca Freecs, you guys are on the high ranks right now.
올라간 장면들이 있는데 어떻습니까? 올해 느낌 좋습니까?
So how are you feeling about this split? I think I might be able to win the whole split this year.
MVP를 차지한 그 두 명 선수와 얘기를 나눠봤는데 오늘 현장에서 많은 분들께서 지켜보셨고
So there are a lot of fans out here.
많은
Any last message for them?
그 팬 여러분들께 끝으로 한 말씀 좀 부탁드리겠습니다.
요즘 날씨가 너무 왔다 갔다 많이 하는 것 같아요. 저처럼 감기 걸리지 않게
So take care of yourself and don't get caught by the cold, just like me.
다들 감기 조심하시고 앞으로도 더 많이 응원해 주세요.
And I'll be looking for continuous support for you guys. Thank you.
여러분들의 응원이 진짜 큰 힘이 됩니다. 오늘 이두 명의
So
선수께서
this will be the end of the interview with Kuro and Spirit from Afreeca Freecs. And I'll hand it over back to our casters. Thank you.
Thank you, Jisun, for helping with the translation there. We're going to take a look at some of the highlights. Things were going well for Kongdoo in the beginning of the game, but eventually Afreeca was just too good.
And the awkward part, though, to think about is I wish we could see this Kongdoo monster every time, because this Kongdoo monster takes games off teams. This Kongdoo monster follows their game plans 2 games in a row. They knew what to do with their draft, and while that sounds like an insult, it's a big compliment because they haven't been able to do that, and it was clean here. Unfortunately for them, the back end was some nice cleanup for Afreeca. This is still with the game in the balance. There were still good news stories for Kongdoo Monster from this point onwards. 1 Baron play. We'll see the replay to come through as we can confirm that it is
1-2.
double smite. So Blitzcrank, thank you to our producer for confirming that. And they were able to take that smite, and very hard to hold it against the enemy jungle. There is the global notification, there's a smite there, but you criticize the setup and not having an interrupt to the smiter rather than necessarily anything that happens involving the 50-50. And that 50-50 ended the game for the side of Afreeca Freecs. That passage of play, they just won it straight up as Kongdoo must have decided to fight more.
Look at Roach disappear. He's just like in the front, Mini-Gnar trying to do something, gets wrecked.
It's a really nice idea without a Weaver's Wall because Soul was free hitting over a wall. He was in vision because of Ward, but that goes differently in Soul's free hitting with no ability to respond. There's a way that Kongdoo Monster turned that into a victory, but on a simple level, they were against the Baron buff. This is when the dirty damage came out. Are you ready for it? That's just bogus. Right, please, fix that. You already fixed Zoe. One more fix, please.
Well, at least she needs to get into melee range with no escape. So there is that. But either way, 2 games in a row, and I believe at the top that does mean that Afreeca does secure 2nd place at the end of week 7 here. So
we're gonna get the confirmation.
Afreeca, yeah, looking to take names up at the top. I mean, keep in mind Kingzone going up against BBQ later. Who knows what could happen? Maybe they go down again, and Afreeca moving up towards 1st place.
That's a revenge match. There's only 2 of them available for the side of Kingzone, so I guess we have to mention it. It's all about the standings at the top and the bottom. Kongdoo Monster is still not mathematically eliminated, but damn, are they close, and there it is. Afreeca Freecs 2 games clear of KT Rolster, and KT have that difficult match next week against Kingzone. So that's a lot of hype right there for the Afreeca fans.
Kongdoo Monsty, they're losing letters as they lose games. Oh boy.
If they lose an S, it becomes Kongdoo
I know, it's
Monty.
close, right? Oh boy. May have to become the fan of a new team, although I'm not sure how he'd like that. But
I mean,
either
after
way,
yesterday, he's probably open to the options.
yeah, you know, I'm definitely open to that option too. Way too many people got excited after that game, but oh boy, KT doing KT things. So yeah, I mean, they're just one game or potentially two games behind Kingzone up at the top, who are looking to secure their first place.
So guys,
right there.
It's going to be a long break, about 55 minutes. But good news, over on the LPL, I have been reliably informed that Marin is playing Rumble. So that's something cool to watch. At twitch.tv/LPL1. Join us in 55 minutes. There will be a Kingzone series. That's unmissable. We got the first flex pick Scion on the first day of this week, and we haven't seen them on 8.4 since they decimated their opposition. So a lot of hype in 55 minutes. But till then, enjoy some LPL.
Yeah, you know, definitely join us. You have a lot of years to go through those matches over in China. Definitely recommend it. But we'll see you in about 55 years.
네, 오늘의 첫 번째 경기 아프리카 프릭스와 콩두 몬스터의 경기는 아프리카 프릭스의 승리로 끝이 났습니다. 아쉽게도 콩두 몬스터는 오늘도 돌파구를